Time to take a look at some other key games and the panel's round 9 tips. The Knights have been competitive, but will start as outsiders against the Eels at Combank Stadium on Friday night. Tim, the Eels, they're in need of a win.
They are in need of a win. They are obviously coming up to the origin period as well. They'll lose 1 or 2 players there. So they're just so hard to get a gauge on, the Parramatta Eels. And it was the exact same as last year. I mean, they could lose the next 3 in a row and you wouldn't count them out as being title contenders. It was the exact same in 2022. So, look, it's not a must-win game for them, but they don't want that pressure to build up too much. So, big game.
Yeah, I think it is a must-win game for them. I think, if they don't start stringing some wins together, I think they're in serious risk of missing the top 8. I think they will come good at a certain point, but you still need to really start banking some of these wins to give them the confidence. I really think they're still struggling to find that connection with Josh Hodgson there at 9. I think they're going to have to make a decision very soon on how they, or just try and work out what is the best way to utilise him to get the best out of the other halves.
I agree, and I don't think we're seeing the best out of Dylan Brown at the moment either. He's very quiet against the Broncos, and the forward pack need to aim up this week. They were totally outclassed in that first half of football against the Broncos. So if they come with that same attitude, well, then they can be on the end of a loss.
Let's quickly just touch on the Knights and them coming into this game. Kalen Ponga, is he better for that run last week up there in North Queensland?
Ponga absolutely better for the run. He looked quite good. He was a little bit standoffish early on when he came in off the bench, obviously starting at 5'8" Fulham this week. The biggest thing for the Knights this season, their back 3, I think Miller and Marju in particular have been terrific. Dom Young just coming out of their own end. It just gets their sets off to such better starts. There's some defensive lapses in them, but it's just changed that side this year.
Okay, well, the Roosters and the Warriors come off a bruising Anzac Day clash and they meet this weekend in Auckland. Chris, you see the Roosters coming up on top here?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be a very close clash. The Warriors, have probably exceeded everyone's expectations in the way they're playing. They're playing some really consistent football week in, week out, and defensively they're turning up for one another. I find it really hard to get a gauge on the Roosters at the moment. I do think they're the better team, and I think if they do turn it on, they can really, put the Warriors to the sword. But I'm just not sure what Roosters team they're going to get. Obviously, they had a new halves combination, and it may have been a bit clunky. That's in its second week, so I still think they're going to do enough to get the win.
Daniel Tupou went down with a hamstring injury. He's going to likely not be there for a number of weeks. How does that sort of shape up in terms of the way that they line up, Josh?
Oh, I think they can easily replace Tupou there with Corey Allen. I think that the Warriors probably have more of a concern. They're losing Tohu Harris, Jazz Tavaga, Dylan Walker, Shans Nickel-Klokstad. So they've got some big outs in their side. That Anzac Day was bruising for them. So on the back of those losses, I think the Roosters, firm as favourites to get the job done here.
Well, 2 desperate sides finish off round 9 when the Dragons host the Bulldogs in Wollongong. Tim, where do you see this one going?
It's a tough one because the Dragons are on that quick backup from Anzac Day, so it's a short turnaround. As far as being a team goes and who I think will finish higher on the ladder this year, I'd be pretty confident in saying the Bulldogs, but a bit like the Warriors, they can't take a trick with injuries this season. We now see, obviously, Kyle Flanagan's been dropped there, Josh Reynolds, he's come into the halves. I wouldn't be surprised to see young Carl Oluwapu, the 18-year-old who we've spoken a bit about this season, come in and play off the bench. I think they're going to try and ease him into a starting halves role. Really excited for that if it does eventuate this week. But I just think due to less injury concerns, the Dragons come out on top.
How do you see that new halves pairing impacting the Bulldogs this weekend? Is that an easy fit for them, or how does that sort of impact their game? Look,
it might be a bit of troubles with some of the connection pieces there, but I've got the Dogs winning solely for the fact, Josh Reynolds is a high energy player. He comes with those effort areas, and if he leads the way with those type of effort areas, they can play simple game, and you can have Matt Burton really running off the back of it with his kicking game and really executing late in the game. They haven't been playing bad football considering all the losses they have had, and if you bring someone like Josh Reynolds, into any side with his high energy and enthusiasm, he's going to get the best out of the rest of the players.
Okay, let's have a quick recap of our round 9 tips. Tim is sticking with the favourites this week. Josh can see the Dolphins upsetting the Raiders, and Chris is tipping a Bulldogs win and giving the Tigers another chance. Cue the laughter. No offence to you. Sorry, Chris.
Solid. They got to get the win sometime.
Penrith are overrated anyway, mate.
What have they done the last couple of years?
That's our show for this week. Thanks, team. What a round of matches we have in store. Don't forget to subscribe below and follow us on socials. We'll be back with Fox Sports Lab NRL next week.
You know it's a better betting app when you've got stats and insights for every major game and race. Plus expert opinions from the best minds in the game, all in the palm of your hand. That's better. Chances are you're about to lose.